specifically when it comes to a budget crisis in town, at some point the council is going to have to look at a budget and decide to make tough decisions of things that get cut. Is it going to be the library? Is it going to be the parks? Is it going to be staffing? Are we going to have hiring freezes? Do you have any ideas going into this race in terms of what things you would want to kind of pull back from financially as a city to help us get through this crisis?
Well, I think you have to re-examine the senior homestead exemption tax. I feel that we're losing revenue and we're spending more than we're making, and so we have to come up with ways to get back that revenue. And that one of those issues we'll have to reevaluate with the senior exemption tab, because I feel that we're losing a lot of revenue with we're missing out on that. When building a library, I think if you maybe work with the school district in building libraries with the schools that are also used for public use, I think that's another creative way that you can do. I think changing utilities, transportation routes. UPS 5 years ago, they are only making right turns on all their delivery routes, and they save millions of dollars on gas, and it is environmentally friendly. So I think if you go take a creative approach, I think that you can mitigate those budget crises, those budget issues that we're facing.
Okay. Another big issue in this last year has been drilling for gas. Came up specifically at the Razor Ranch site, right across the street from a park, across the street from a established neighborhood, and it raised the ire of a number of the neighbors who felt that was an inappropriate location for that. What's your stance on drilling in the city limits, and as a city council, what do you think their role is in this issue?
Well, my treasurer, Lindsay Keffer, is one of the constituents that raised issues, because he lives off Ector Street, which is right over by Razor Ranch. And give credit to the drillers, because they followed every guideline. But what I did not like is that when the people that elected John Engelbrett and District 3, when they spoke out to him and they did not want that drilled, your first priority is not the city of Denton. It's your residents and your people that voted for you in your communities. And your goal is to make sure that their voices are being heard. And that is a perfect example of voices not getting heard. It may have been, it benefited the city. You can't deny that. They followed all the guidelines by putting the signs and the times, so they're following all the guidelines, and there was no issue with the state. But for him not to hear, for the council not to hear the voices of the people that elect him, that right there is hypocritical of their what they're supposed to be doing.
Well, let me put you on the spot.
Sure.
You would be an at-large candidate if you're in this, so you wouldn't represent a particular district. What would your vote have been on that?
Well,
knowing what you know now.
Well, I would have taken the route of listening, having more community awareness with neighborhood associations, and I would have gauged the citizens and what they would have wanted. And if they would have wanted no, then I would have gone no with them.
You're a good politician. When it comes to development in town, that's always an issue. There's always the tension between being open to businesses coming in, being open to new developers, versus the desire, especially within central Denton, of neighborhoods who are worried about apartments coming up and trashing out their neighborhoods. We had a recent issue on Bell Avenue with a guy who wanted to come and build a bunch of duplexes in a historical neighborhood. How would you balance that tension between new development and the need of Denton to move forward, and the desire of people in Denton to preserve what they like about town?
Well, I think a perfect example is the Fry Street development. The developers came in, they spoke with the community, they asked them, well, this is what we're doing, what do you not like? Well, they completely redid their whole plan, and they came back with something that the community found appropriate and agreed on. And that kind of communication, as unmagnitude as it is, it wasn't huge. There's only maybe 50 people there, but those 50 people gave so much input that it changed the mindset of those developers. And those developers came back with a plan that would benefit not only the residents in the area by keeping their neighborhood the way they want to keep it, but also they put it on a path to help the city itself by adding $600,000 to the tax roll. So that right there is a perfect example of how the private sector and private developers coming in and working with the community and the city to finding a goal that they can accomplish.
What is it that you love about Denton?
Oh, well, I've lived here all my life, and so I've got to see it grow from baby steps to where it is now, and I just love it because there's so much potential. We're on the top of the Golden Triangle, so everything that's moving up north or moving down to the tip of the triangle, and everyone that's wanting to get out of the mess and hustle bustle of the city in Fort Worth and Dallas, they're moving north. And there's just so much potential with what we have here, being 2 universities, top-notch hospitals, a school system that is, can compete with the rest of the state of Texas. Property taxes, they're low compared to other areas. A music scene and an art scene that gives it a culture and some character. You got hippies, you got rednecks, you got businessmen, you got black, white, Hispanic. You got a whole plate of people here and a whole plate of wants and needs that makes it really unique.
As you look out among different cities around the nation or Texas or around the world for that matter, is there any city that you say that should be a model for Denton in the future?
Well, sort of apples and oranges, but I think if you take a European transportation model and you manipulate it with the Texas attitude that Denton has, I think you could really take a blossoming city and make it even more flourishable. And so I don't have an exact city, but say Frisco, with what kind of there's tons of people moving to Frisco in Collin County, Frisco and Plano area. And whatever you want to say about Frisco and Plano is that, you may say that it's not Denton, which it isn't, but they're doing something right, and they're bringing people to the city, and they're bringing businesses. And if we can portray that with a Denton uniqueness and a north of ordinary type of mind frame, then I think Denton's going to be one of the top cities in America to live in.
Well, the election is May 8th. 5 people in your field. Are you hoping for a runoff situation, or are you hoping to get above 50% right off the bat?
Well, I think we can get 50% plus 1. I would not be disappointed if there was a runoff. I think that's part of the process, and with as many candidates as there is, that's a very likable chance. But I feel that with the grassroots support we have and the volume of the voice that I'm going to speak, I feel that we can win this election without having to go to runoff.
Well, Phil Kregel, place 6 at-large position. The election's May 8th. If you're not yet registered to vote, you have until April 8th to do that in the city of Denton. We have more info about that on our website, but get that done soon. Phil Kregel, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you.